video, I'll be breaking down 8 of the mistakes that I made with my money as a student, because let's be honest, it's way too easy to spend money these days, because honestly, I'm just here for enjoyment. It's way too easy to spend carelessly, and now that I've graduated and I'm looking at how I spent my money and how I handled everything, and so I want to let you know so that you don't make the same mistakes as me. So we'll start with the more common ones like impulsive spending and not budgeting, and then we're gonna go into some that I didn't think were a mistake until right now after reflecting. The spending and saving habits that we create while being a student will likely affect how you handle your money in the future. So it's really important to realize what mistakes you're making now and what you don't want to carry on into your future, because when you start making larger amounts of money, it's gonna have an even bigger impact on you, and you don't really want to go through all of that, because then you're gonna have more responsibilities and then it's a whole kerfuffle. Before we get started, hi, my name is Tiana. I am a recent graduate, so I'm really thinking about all my life, okay? But anyway, if this is your first time seeing me on your screen or even seeing my channel, welcome. If this is not your first time seeing me, welcome back. Please subscribe and leave a like down below if you're already enjoying the video. If not, keep watching. I know you're gonna drop the like later anyway. So the first and biggest mistake I made was not budgeting. And honestly, hear me out, okay? As a student, I worked part-time for most of it, and honestly, I wasn't making that much money. So in my head, I didn't think I needed to budget because I wasn't making that much money, and I didn't have that many financial obligations, so I felt like it was okay to not budget and kind of just spend, you know. But over time, I would end up overspending and then find myself at the end of the month with either not enough money to either just go out or get food or, you know, just live without worrying about how much money is in my bank account. In first year, it was fine because I didn't have a lot of financial obligations, but now that I've grown up a little, I've graduated, I have more bills to pay, it's a lot more difficult to stay on top of things because I just don't have that habit of budgeting, and also I just like to buy stuff randomly, which is obviously gonna cut into money that I need to use for something else, right? So don't be like me. Budget regardless of whether you make $100 or $500 every 2 weeks. I don't care how much money you're making, just budget it. It'll get you into the habit of budgeting and sticking to your budgets, which is something that I really wish I started doing earlier. My second mistake, which I still do regularly, it is one of the biggest issues that I have, is impulsive spending. Guys, I love clothes. That is what I spend the most money on, I would say, impulsively, because I never plan to go shopping. I always just end up going shopping. Outside of shopping for clothes, it's things like going out, getting takeout, randomly, like even using a scooter, because it's summer right now. The scooters are out, it's really nice, right? But realistically, those are all things that I didn't plan, which makes it impulsive in some way. I low-key have a small shopping addiction, but I've realized that half of the time when I am shopping impulsively, buying clothes, buying food, buying things like that, it's usually a response to something. I vividly remember me buying a pair of Gymshark shorts because I was sad, and tell me why I bought the short and I was not sad afterwards. I realized that some of my shopping habits are somehow linked to my mood or what's going on in my life at the moment, and honestly, shopping in that way is not good. That's how you end up training your mind to just end up shopping whenever you feel a certain thing. The reason that I think this is a mistake is because spending impulsively, it means that you're inadvertently taking money out of something else to pay for what you're doing. So you're gonna buy the clothes today, but that $20 that you use on the shirt or whatever is gonna come out of something else. Let's say your phone bill, and now you haven't paid your phone bill, but now you've went shopping and now you can't pay your phone bill, but you need the phone bill. Do you get what I mean? My third mistake was not paying my credit card fully and sometimes even overusing it. I got my first credit card in first or second year. Where I grew up, credit cards aren't really a thing. So that was my first credit card ever. And I did do some research on how to use it, how you were supposed to pay for it and things like that, but I didn't really look into it enough. And you know how credit cards have that minimum payment thing? That's what I would do all the time. I would just pay the minimum because I'm like, okay, if I don't have to pay it fully, I can just pay the minimum. So in times where I just couldn't pay the full thing, I would just pay the minimum. And even when I could pay the full thing, sometimes I'd just be like, yeah, I'm just not gonna pay it. That can really affect your credit history and your credit score in the long run. And like I said, all of these habits that you establish when you start using these services will come with you as you go along. See how I would not budget and then spend impulsively? That would filter onto my credit card, because now I've overspent the money that I do have, but now I have a credit card, right? So whatever I need to buy and I don't actually have money to buy, I would end up using my credit card, which leads me into the fourth mistake I made, which is spending money that I don't have. And when I say I don't have it, I mean I don't have it right now. Yes, I will get paid in the next 2 weeks and I'll be able to afford it, but if I don't have the money right now, what business do I have buying anything? Using the buy now, pay later services like Klarna, I don't think those are bad services. I think if you use them correctly and if you're able to stick to a payment schedule, that it can be really beneficial to use those. But if you can't do that, don't do it, okay? If you don't have the money to pay for something, don't buy it. You don't need it. If you can't buy it twice with the money in your bank account, then you can't afford it. I think I went through a really bad overconsumption era where it's like you just want to buy everything, and I think it's normal to go through that, but it's also good to go through it and get out of it and not stay in that. My fifth mistake was not utilizing all the services and kind of perks that credit cards and debit cards come with. Like the points they give you when you use your credit card, you can get cash back from that, you can get a bunch of vouchers. Certain banks and credit cards even have partnerships with grocery stores. So let's say I use Scotiabank. So Scotiabank I think has a partnership with Freshco. If you shop at Freshco and you use your Scotiabank like credit card or something to pay, you get some points from that. And those are services that I didn't really use a lot. I would end up just going to whatever grocery store, which is fine, but Freshco, one, is cheaper. Second of all, you can get points, and with those points you can sometimes even just get $20 back from your bank, and that's a free $20 that you didn't have because you're gonna spend the money anyway, so you might as well use it smart. I have another account with Koho, and they have this cool thing where they kind of round up. So let's say something costs you $3.99 or $3.98, those 2 cents or 1 cent, they'll end up charging you $4 for it, and then keep that 2 cent, and then you can kind of build it up and get that change back. And it might not be a lot of money, but that's money that you didn't have, and honestly, I'm gonna take everything I can get, okay? Also use all the student deals that you can find. I'm gonna leave all the ones that I use down below, but there's SPC, there's student beans, there's uni days, there's so many. Use all the student discounts. Don't pay for things full price. Look for discounts. That's the one thing that I did well, is looking for discounts, okay? Scour the internet. There's so many. I'll leave them linked down below for you. Use your status as a student as you can. Loblaws also has a 10% student thing that I wish I used sooner. Don't shop at Loblaws if you're a student though. It's way too expensive. One mistake I made that I didn't really know was a mistake until recently was not saving intentionally. I would just usually put money aside whenever I did have like extra money. So I would do like a 50-50 thing where I would put 50% of what I made in my savings account, and then the other 50 I would just leave in my checking account. The issue with that is that me just putting money aside and me saving money are two different things, because the money that I put aside in my head was always accessible to me because it didn't have a specific function, or because I wasn't saving it for a specific item or, you know, for a specific reason. It felt easier for me to dig into that without remorse, basically. Like if I needed an extra $20 for something that I needed to buy, I would just send that out of my savings and put it in my checking account and just use it, because in my head the money didn't really have a function, and so if I don't want to use it for a specific thing, then surely I can use it for other things, right? I don't want to say that you have to save for a specific thing every single time, but make sure that it has some kind of intentionality so that inside your brain it's not money that you can just take out. Mistake number 7 kind of coincides with 6, but it's not having an emergency fund. Life can just flip a 180 on you anytime. Besides even life flipping a 180, you could get a toothache tomorrow. You could have a medical emergency. You could have a family emergency. Your house could flood. If any of those things happened, I would not be prepared for it. I've always known that you're meant to have savings for a rainy day, for literally anything that could possibly happen. I just never really got into the practice of doing it and doing it intentionally. Do I have extra money for maybe something that could happen? Yes. But do I have a set emergency fund? Not really. And that's stupid. You should really have an emergency fund. I should really have an emergency fund. This can be done in any way. You could be putting away $50 every 2 weeks and building up that fund to about 1K, 500. It doesn't matter how much or how little you start with, but you just want to make sure you're building that up to an amount that you think would cover at least a small emergency, let's say. The last mistake I made was not investing and not even like trying to learn how to invest. While I was a student, I would work part-time during the semester and then full-time in the summer. Full-time money in the summer is a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and that's extra money that you can use to start investing. If I'm making $1,000 every 2 weeks, I would be putting aside 500 and then using the other 500, or maybe not using the complete 500, but for sure I would be putting aside 500. Out of that 500, some of it could go to a savings account, some of it could go to investing. I think it would have been beneficial for me to start trying to invest at that point, because that money didn't really have anywhere to go. Like it could have been growing itself. It could have been me experimenting with it. It could have done many things because it didn't really have a purpose. Instead of just sitting in my bank account, it could be growing somewhere else. So the earlier you learn how to invest, the more beneficial it is for you. And so I think while being a student, low-key, it's a really good time. I'm not saying you're gonna be investing 50K or something like that, but just getting into the habit, learning how to do it would be really good for your future self. So those are the 8 money mistakes that I made while I was a student. Please don't be like me. Learn from my mistakes. It's never too late to change a habit, try something new, try and learn something new. It's really never too late. Reflect on how you spend your money, reflect on what mistakes you could be making, and try and figure out ways to improve that, because truly it will affect you in your long run, and you don't want to catch yourself not being able to handle a salary once you start making that kind of money. If you have any tips or any mistakes that you find yourself making as well that you want to share with everybody, leave them down in the comments. I'll be there as well and we can chat. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was somewhat helpful to you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.